The auditorium fell silent. 200 alien students stared at the holographic display floating above the stage. The image showed a planet covered in dark green jungles and swirling gray clouds. Numbers scrolled beside it. Gravity 2.1 standard. Atmosphere, acidic compounds detected. Wildlife hostile classification level 9. Survival rating extreme danger. Instructor Velthar stood beside the display. He was a Dracnir, tall and covered in purple scales that reflected the light. His 4 eyes scanned the crowd of students. He had taught combat training at the Galactic Academy for 30 years. He had seen thousands of cadets from hundreds of worlds, but this assignment always produced the same result. "This is Carthex 9, Velthar said. His voice was deep and rough. 3 days ago, a diplomatic shuttle crashed on its surface. 5 beings are trapped inside. They have limited supplies. If we do not retrieve them within 72 hours, they will die." A Luminari student in the front row raised one crystalline hand. Her body glowed with soft blue light. "Instructor, the survival rating is 9. That is Death World classification. We are only second-year students." Velthar nodded slowly. "Correct. This planet would kill most of you within an hour. The gravity alone would crush your internal organs. The atmosphere would burn your respiratory systems. The wildlife would hunt you as prey." He paused. "But those 5 beings are still alive. They need help. So I ask you now, who volunteers?" Nobody moved. The Luminari students looked at each other with worried expressions. Their species came from low-gravity garden worlds where the weather was always controlled. They were excellent engineers and scientists, but physical challenges terrified them. The Dracnir students shifted in their seats. They looked strong with their armored scales and muscular bodies. But they came from underground cities where everything was safe and predictable. They trained for combat in controlled environments, not in wild nature. The Mindari students sat perfectly still. They were telepathic beings who rarely used their physical bodies. They floated slightly above their chairs, wrapped in meditation. Physical danger meant nothing to them because they simply avoided it. Hana Kim sat in the middle section of the auditorium. She was small compared to most students. Her skin was pale, and her black hair was tied back in a simple ponytail. She wore the standard academy uniform, but it looked different on her human frame. She was the only human in this year's combat training class. She looked at the planet on the display. She read the numbers again. Twice Earth's gravity, acidic rain, dangerous animals. She thought about home. She thought about the mountains in Korea where she grew up. She thought about her training. Hana raised her hand. The movement was simple and quiet, but every eye in the auditorium turned to look at her. Velthar's 4 eyes focused on her position. Several students gasped. A luminary near her whispered, "Is she insane?" "Cadet Kim," Velthar said. "You volunteer for this mission?" "Yes, instructor," Hana said. She stood up so everyone could hear her clearly. "I volunteer." A Dracnir student 2 rows behind her spoke loudly. "Human, do you understand what you are volunteering for? That planet will kill you." Hana turned to face the Dracnir. "I understand the mission parameters. Carthex 9 is classified as a death world by galactic standards." She looked around at all the students watching her. "But Earth is also classified as a death world. I grew up on a death world. I trained on a death world. This mission is dangerous, but I can handle it." The auditorium erupted with noise. Students talked to each other in dozens of languages. Some thought Hana was brave. Others thought she was foolish. Many simply could not understand why anyone would volunteer to visit a place so dangerous. Velthar raised one clawed hand for silence. The noise stopped immediately. "Cadet Kim, explain your reasoning." Hana took a breath. This was the part that always confused her alien classmates. "On Earth, we train in extreme conditions from childhood. My home country has mountains where winter temperatures drop to -30 degrees. We have summers where the heat reaches 40 degrees. We have monsoons that flood entire regions. We have earthquakes that destroy cities." She walked down to the front of the auditorium. The holographic planet rotated slowly beside her. "When I was 10 years old, my parents sent me to survival camp. We learned to climb mountains in snowstorms. We learned to swim in rapids. We learned to navigate through forests with no equipment. This was normal education for human children." A Mindari student's voice echoed in everyone's mind. "Why would your species deliberately expose children to danger?" "Because Earth exposes us to danger whether we like it or not," Hana said. "We cannot control our planet. It has hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, and 1,000 other natural disasters. So we learn to survive them. We train in worse conditions so that when the real disaster comes, we are ready. She pointed at the planet on the display. Carthex 9 has twice Earth's gravity. I have trained with weighted suits that simulate triple gravity. The atmosphere is acidic. I have trained in chemical hazard zones on Earth where the air burns exposed skin. The wildlife is hostile. Earth has bears, tigers, crocodiles, sharks, poisonous snakes, and spiders. We learn to deal with predators from an early age. Velthar studied her carefully. You believe you are prepared for this environment? I believe I am more prepared than anyone else in this room, Hana said. It was not arrogance. It was simple fact. Not because I am better than my classmates, but because my planet trained me for exactly this situation. The instructor tapped his datapad. Information scrolled across his vision. Hana's records appeared. Her physical fitness scores were exceptional. Her survival training certifications covered 30 different extreme environments. Her combat scores ranked in the top 5%. Her medical training included field emergency procedures. Everything he saw supported her claim. Very well, Cadet Kim, Velthar said. I accept your volunteer status. You will lead the rescue mission to Carthex 9. Mission briefing begins in 1 hour. Prepare your equipment. Yes, instructor. Hana bowed slightly and turned to leave the auditorium. As she walked up the steps between the seats, her classmates stared at her. Some looked impressed. Others looked worried. A few looked at her like she had just volunteered to die. Near the exit, another human waited for her. Doyen Park was from Mars Colony. He had cybernetic implants that enhanced his strength and reflexes. He was one of only 3 humans in the entire academy this year. Hana, are you sure about this? Doyen asked quietly. They walked together into the hallway. Even for a human, that planet looks deadly, Hana smiled. Doyen, remember what Instructor Minho used to tell us back on Earth? Doyen nodded slowly. Comfort is the enemy of capability. Exactly. Everyone in that auditorium grew up comfortable. Their planets protect them. Their societies shield them from danger. They never had to volunteer for anything difficult because difficult things never came to them. Hana's expression became serious. But Earth does not give us a choice. Earth throws challenges at us from the moment we are born. So we learn to raise our hands. We learn to volunteer. Because if we wait for the easy mission, we will wait forever. They reached the equipment bay. Through the windows, they could see the rescue shuttle being prepared. It looked small against the massive space station around them. 72 hours, Doyen said. That is not much time. Then I better not waste any of it, Hana said. She entered the bay and began selecting her gear. She had a death world to visit and 5 lives to save. Earth had trained her for this moment. Now it was time to prove that humanity's harsh home was actually humanity's greatest advantage. Hana stood in the equipment room checking her suit seals. The chest piece clicked into place. The helmet's display showed green indicators. Everything worked perfectly. As she tested the glove joints, memories flooded back. She was not in the academy anymore. She was 12 years old again, standing in snow up to her knees. The mountain wind had been brutal that day. Instructor Minho Choi stood ahead of her on the trail. He wore only light clothing despite the freezing temperature. His breath made clouds in the air. Behind Hana, 15 other children struggled up the slope. Some were crying. Others looked ready to give up. Keep moving, Minho had shouted over the wind. Your body wants to stop. Your mind wants to quit. But you keep moving. This is what separates survivors from victims. That had been winter training in the Taebok Mountains. Hana remembered how her fingers hurt from the cold even inside her gloves. She remembered how each step felt impossible. The snow made everything harder. But Minho did not let them stop. When they finally reached the summit after 6 hours, he smiled at them. You see, he had said, your bodies did not fail. Your minds tried to convince you to quit, but your bodies kept going. Remember this feeling. When you face real danger, your training will carry you through. Hana's parents ran the survival training camp in those mountains. Her father managed the logistics. Her mother, Dr. Yoonji Song, taught the science behind survival. Yoonji was a xenobiologist who studied how different species adapted to their environments. She traveled to many worlds for her research. She always came home with the same observation. Every species we meet evolved to fit their planet perfectly, Yoonji told Hana one evening. They sat by the fire after a long day of training. The Luminari evolved on calm, beautiful worlds. They never needed strong bodies because their planets never challenged them. The Draknir built underground cities to hide from their planet's surface storms. They chose safety over adaptation. What about humans? Young Hana had asked. Humans could not hide, Yunji said. She poked the fire with a stick. Earth gave us ice ages. It gave us droughts. It gave us floods and earthquakes and volcanoes. It gave us predators that hunted us. It gave us diseases that killed millions. We could not build walls strong enough to keep it all out. So we adapted. We learned. We grew stronger. That conversation happened 7 years ago. Now Hana understood what her mother meant. She finished checking her equipment and sat down on a bench. The mission briefing would start soon. But her mind kept wandering back to Earth, back to her training. When she was 13, instructor Minho took their group to Jeju Island for water survival training. The ocean looked peaceful from the beach. But once they swam out past the break, everything changed. The current was strong. Waves crashed over their heads. Salt water burned their eyes and throats. Fight the current and you will drown, Minho had yelled from the support boat. Work with the water. Let it carry you. Save your energy for when you need it. 3 students panicked that day. Minho pulled them out immediately. He never forced anyone beyond their breaking point, but he pushed them right up to that edge. He needed them to find their limits so they could expand those limits later. Hana had not panicked. She remembered floating on her back, letting the waves lift her up and down. She remembered the burn in her muscles as she swam parallel to shore until she escaped the current. It took her 40 minutes to get back to the beach. She collapsed in the sand, exhausted but alive. Good, was all Minho said. But she saw approval in his eyes. The equipment room door opened. Doyen entered carrying 2 containers of food. He handed one to Hana. You need to eat. The mission launches in 6 hours. Hana took the container and opened it. Standard Academy nutrition paste. It tasted like nothing, but it gave the body everything it needed. She ate slowly, still lost in memory. At 14, her training intensified. Minho introduced combat skills. Not sport fighting with rules and referees. Real combat. Dirty, brutal, survive-at-any-cost combat. He brought in instructors from military units. They taught pressure points, joint locks, and how to use anything as a weapon. Fair fights are for sport, one instructor told them. Survival has no rules. Use the environment. Use surprise. Use psychology. Whatever keeps you breathing. Hana learned to fight opponents twice her size. She learned that technique beat strength. She learned that speed and timing beat power. She got bruised, bloodied, and beaten down. Then she got back up and learned more. At 15, Minho sent her into the wilderness alone. 3 days. No food, no tent. Just a knife, a water bottle, and an emergency beacon if she faced true danger. She never activated the beacon. She remembered building shelter from branches and leaves. She remembered catching fish with a trap made from stones and sticks. She remembered the fear when she heard something large moving through the forest at night. She remembered staying calm, staying alert, staying alive. When Minho picked her up 3 days later, she was dirty and tired but healthy. He looked at her simple shelter, her fish trap, and the small fire she had maintained. He nodded once. You pass. That year, Dr. Yunji showed Hana recordings from other worlds. They watched Luminari children learning in clean, safe classrooms. They watched Draknir youth training in protective armor inside secure facilities. They watched Mindari younglings floating in meditation chambers where nothing could disturb them. Do you see the difference? Yunji asked. They never face real danger, Hana said. Exactly. Their civilizations protect them completely. They grow up knowing that safety is normal. Danger is the exception. Yunji switched off the display. But for humans, danger is normal. Safety is what we create through skill and preparation. This makes us different. Not better, just different. We volunteer for dangerous things because we understand danger. We are not afraid of it because we trained in it our whole lives. At 16, Hana attended high-altitude training in the Himalayas. The air was thin. Every breath felt insufficient. Her head pounded from the altitude. But Minho pushed them higher. They learned how their bodies reacted to low oxygen. They learned to recognize the signs of altitude sickness. They learned when to push forward and when to retreat. Your body will lie to you, Minho said as they camped at 6,000 meters. It will tell you to give up. It will tell you that you cannot continue. But if you train properly, you can trust your preparation more than your fear. At 17, Hana completed desert survival training. 2 weeks in the Gobi Desert. Temperatures reached 45 degrees during the day and dropped to freezing at night. Water was scarce. Shade was precious. Every decision mattered. She learned to find water by watching birds and insects. She learned to create shade from whatever material she found. She learned to move during dawn and dusk when the temperature was manageable. She learned that the desert tested patience and intelligence more than strength. Throughout all this training, Hana watched her alien classmates from other worlds. When she finally left Earth for the Galactic Academy, she noticed something important. The alien students were smart. They were talented. They excelled in their specialties. But when faced with unexpected problems, they froze. They waited for authority figures to tell them what to do. They could not adapt quickly. Humans adapted constantly. It was what they did. Earth forced them to develop that skill. Hana? Doyen's voice brought her back to the present. You have been staring at that wall for 5 minutes. She blinked and looked at him. Sorry, I was remembering my training. Thinking about Instructor Minho? Doyen asked. Yes, and my mother. And all those years learning to survive. Hana stood up and stretched. Every alien in that auditorium thought I was crazy to volunteer. But this mission is exactly what Earth prepared me for. Hostile environment, time pressure, lives at stake. I have trained for this scenario 100 times. The difference is that this time it is real, Doyen said quietly. It was always real, Hana replied. That is the point of Earth training. We do not practice in safe simulations. We go to real mountains, real oceans, real deserts, real danger. Because when the emergency happens, there is no difference between training and reality. Our bodies and minds already know what to do. The door chimed. Instructor Velthar's voice came through the speaker. Cadet Kim, report to briefing room 7. On my way, instructor. Hana grabbed her helmet and headed for the door. She paused and looked back at Doyun. Earth trains us first. That is the human advantage. Every other species waits until they are adults to face challenges. We face them as children. By the time we reach the academy, we have already survived more than most species face in their entire lives. She walked out of the equipment room. The mission was real now. No more memories, no more training, just her skills, her preparation, and 5 lives depending on her success. Instructor Minho would be proud. Her mother would understand. Earth had done its job. Now it was Hana's turn to prove that growing up on a death world made her ready for any death world in the galaxy. The rescue shuttle dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Carthex 9 filled the view screen. It looked angry. Dark green jungles covered most of the surface. Gray clouds swirled in violent patterns. Lightning flashed inside the storm systems. The planet rotated slowly, showing no signs of civilization. It was wild, untamed, hostile. Beginning approach vector, said pilot Taejin Yoon. He was human from Mars colony. His hands moved across the controls with practiced ease. Mars was safer than Earth, but Martian colonists still trained hard. They had to. Space was another kind of hostile environment. Hana sat in the passenger section, checking her equipment one final time. The exosuit was rated for extreme conditions. The breathing system could filter the acidic atmosphere for up to 8 hours. The powered joints would help compensate for the heavy gravity. Medical supplies filled one pack. Survival gear filled another. Behind her sat 3 alien crew members. They would provide support from the shuttle. Actually, going down to the planet's surface was impossible for them. Navigator Breen was a luminari. Her crystalline body glowed faintly blue. She watched the planet with obvious fear in her large eyes. That place looks like death, Breen whispered. Most of the galaxy looks like death to luminari, said Weapons Officer Krell. He was Draknir, covered in dark purple scales. Your people find a light rainstorm threatening. And your people hide underground, Breen shot back. At least we admit our limitations. Both of you be quiet, said Medical Officer Than. He was Mindari, floating slightly above his seat in meditation pose. His voice echoed telepathically in everyone's mind. We all have our weaknesses. That is why Cadet Kim leads this mission. Hana appreciated that Than did not let the arguing continue. Fear made people argue. Everyone in this shuttle was afraid except Taijin and herself. The 2 humans understood the mission. The aliens only saw danger. Entering atmosphere, Taijin announced. The shuttle began to shake. The planet's thick atmosphere created tremendous friction. The shields glowed red-hot. Temperature warnings flashed on the displays. Taijin's hands never stopped moving, making tiny adjustments to keep them on course. The shaking grew worse. Breen made a sound of distress. Her crystalline structure was sensitive to vibration. This rough entry probably felt like torture to her. But there was no gentle way to land on a planet like this. They pushed through by force. The shuttle broke through the cloud layer. The jungle appeared below them. Trees rose 50 meters high. Their leaves were dark green, almost black. Rivers cut through the terrain like silver scars. In the distance, mountains rose toward the clouds. Everything looked ancient and untouched. Scanning for the crash site, Breen said. Her voice shook, but she focused on her job. I have it. 23 kilometers southwest of our position. Take us there, Hana said. Taejin adjusted their course. The shuttle flew low over the jungle. Hana watched the landscape rush past below them. She saw movement in the trees, large shapes moving quickly. The wildlife here was active and aggressive. Good to know. Gravity is already affecting our systems, Taejin reported. The compensators are working at 80% capacity. Fuel consumption is higher than calculated. Can we make it? Hana asked. Yes, but we will not have much reserve for the return trip. Then we do not waste time, Hana said. She stood and moved to the deployment area. The suit's servos hummed as they compensated for the gravity. Even inside the shuttle, she could feel the difference. Everything felt heavier. Her muscles had to work harder just to move normally. The shuttle slowed and hovered over a clearing near the crash site. Taejin brought them down carefully. The landing struts touched ground. The shuttle settled with a groan. Metal stressed under the increased gravity. We are down, Taejin said, but I do not recommend staying long. This planet wants to crush us. Hana moved to the airlock. She sealed her helmet. The display showed her vital signs, atmospheric analysis, and tactical information. Everything read normal. Well, normal for her. For most species, these readings would be fatal. Opening outer door, she announced. The airlock cycled. The outer door slid open. The atmosphere of Carthex 9 rushed in. It smelled like sulfur and decay. The air was thick and humid. Even through her suit's filters, Hana could tell this atmosphere would burn unprotected lungs. She stepped out onto the planet's surface. The gravity hit her immediately. It felt like someone put a heavy pack on her shoulders. Her legs adjusted to the weight. Years of training with weighted suits made this manageable. Uncomfortable, but manageable. Behind her in the shuttle, she heard Breen gasp. The gravity readings inside just increased. How is she walking normally out there? Because she is human, Tan's mental voice replied. Her planet prepared her for this. Hana scanned the area. The jungle surrounded the clearing on all sides. The trees looked even larger from ground level. Their trunks were thick as buildings. Vines hung between them like cables. The undergrowth was dense and dark. Visibility was maybe 20 meters before everything became shadows. She checked her tactical display. The crashed shuttle was 3 kilometers northeast. The terrain between here and there was difficult. Hills, rivers, and thick jungle. In Earth terms, it was a hard hike. In galactic terms, it was a death march. I am beginning the approach, Hana said into her comm. Keep the shuttle ready for quick departure. Understood, Taejin replied. Good luck, Hana started walking. The jungle was even hotter than the clearing. The thick canopy trapped heat and moisture. It felt like walking through a sauna. Sweat formed on her skin immediately, but she had trained in tropical environments on Earth. Thailand, Brazil, Indonesia. She knew how to pace herself in heat and humidity. The ground was uneven. Roots crossed the path. Rocks hid under leaves. Every step required attention. The heavy gravity made stumbling dangerous. A fall here could mean injury. Injury meant mission failure. 10 minutes into the jungle, she heard the first sound. Something moving parallel to her position. Something large. She could not see it through the undergrowth, but her suit's motion sensors tracked it. 40 meters to her left. Keeping pace with her. Hunting behavior. Hana kept walking but shifted her path slightly right. She did not want to confront whatever was following her unless necessary. Conservation of energy was critical. Every action cost more in this gravity. Fighting would drain her quickly. The creature followed her new course. It was definitely stalking her. Hana's hand moved to the plasma cutter on her belt. The tool was designed for cutting through debris, but it would work as a weapon if needed. She hoped it would not be needed. A river crossed her path. The water moved fast, brown with sediment. The tactical display showed it was 3 meters deep. Swimming in this gravity with full gear would be exhausting. Hana looked upstream and found a fallen tree bridging the river. Not ideal, but better than swimming. She climbed onto the log. Her boots gripped the wet bark. The log was slippery but wide enough. She walked carefully across. Halfway over, something erupted from the water below. A creature with 6 legs and too many teeth snapped at her. She jumped back. The log wobbled. She kept her balance through pure reflex and training. The water creature fell back into the river. Hana continued across quickly. These predators were aggressive and fast. Earth had aggressive predators too. Crocodiles, sharks, bears. The lesson was always the same: do not be easy prey. Move with purpose. Show no weakness. Do not run unless absolutely necessary. She reached the other side and checked her position, halfway to the crash site. Time elapsed 45 minutes. She was making good time despite the obstacles. The jungle opened into a rocky area. Volcanic stone covered the ground in sharp formations. Hana picked her way through carefully. The gravity made jumping impossible. She had to climb over or go around each obstacle. Her muscles burned from the constant effort. Behind her, the creature that had been following finally showed itself. It stepped into view 60 meters back. It was huge, 4 meters long with 6 powerful legs. Its body was covered in armored plates. Its head had 4 eyes and a mouth full of serrated teeth. It looked like evolution designed it specifically to kill. The creature roared. The sound echoed through the jungle. It was a challenge. A warning. This was its territory. Hana stopped and turned to face it. She did not run. Running triggered chase instinct in predators. Instead, she stood tall and made herself look as large as possible. She activated her suit's external speakers and played a loud, low-frequency sound, a sound that hurt ears and triggered instinctual fear. The creature hesitated. It was not used to prey that made noise back. It took a step forward, then stopped. Its 4 eyes studied her, calculating, deciding if she was worth the effort. Hana pulled out a chemical flare from her pack. She lit it. Bright red fire erupted. She waved it at the creature. Fire was a universal danger signal. Most species feared it instinctively. The creature roared again, but this time it stepped backward. It was not afraid exactly, but it was uncertain. Uncertainty was enough. The predator turned and melted back into the jungle. It would find easier prey elsewhere. Hana let out a breath she had been holding. Her heart was pounding. Adrenaline flooded her system. But her hands were steady. Her mind was clear. Training overrode fear. Earth had taught her that lesson well. She continued toward the crash site. The terrain changed again. A steep hill rose in front of her. In normal gravity, it would be the stretcher dragged through the undergrowth. Vines caught on the frame. Roots tried to trip Hana's feet. The harness cut into her shoulders despite the exosuit's padding. Every meter was a battle against gravity, terrain, and exhaustion. Behind her, the 5 injured beings lay secured to the stretcher. Kyungmin stayed conscious and alert despite his broken leg. The 3 alien delegates drifted in and out of awareness. Their bodies were failing in this environment. The Mindari child whimpered softly, too weak to float anymore. "How are you holding up?" Hana asked over her shoulder. She kept moving as she talked. Stopping meant losing momentum. Losing momentum meant using more energy to start again. "I have been better," Kyungmin said. His voice was tight with pain. "But I am alive. That is what matters." Hana checked her tactical display. They had covered 800 meters in 20 minutes. That was too slow. The storm was closing in. She could see the sky darkening through gaps in the canopy. The wind was picking up. The jungle was getting noisier as animals sought shelter. She adjusted her route to follow a game trail. It was more exposed but easier to navigate. Speed was more important than stealth now. They needed to reach the shuttle before the storm hit. A sound made her stop. Movement in the trees ahead. Not one creature. Multiple creatures. Her motion sensors lit up with contacts. 6 large shapes spreading out to surround them. Hunting pack behavior. Taijin. Hana spoke into her comm quietly. "I have multiple predators ahead." 6 contacts. "They are coordinating. This is organized hunting. Can you avoid them?" Taijin asked. Hana looked at her tactical display. The creatures had already positioned themselves to cut off her route. Going around would add too much time. Time they did not have. Negative. They chose this spot deliberately. "They know I have injured prey." She studied the terrain. A large tree had fallen across the trail ahead. Its trunk was 3 meters thick. Good cover. Better than standing in the open. She pulled the stretcher faster. Her muscles burned, but she pushed through the pain. They reached the fallen tree. Hana positioned the stretcher behind it. Natural fortress. Now she had something solid at her back and overhead cover from the tree's remaining branches. "Everyone stay quiet," she said. "Do not make any sudden movements." The creatures emerged from the undergrowth. They were different from the predator she encountered earlier. These were smaller but faster, 2 meters long with sleek bodies built for speed. Their 6 legs ended in claws designed for climbing and gripping. Their mouths had rows of needle-like teeth. Pack hunters, intelligent, dangerous. The lead creature made a chittering sound. The others responded. They were communicating, sharing information about the prey. Hana recognized the behavior from earth wolves and wild dogs. Social predators were harder to deter than solitary ones. They gave each other courage. She pulled out her plasma cutter and activated it. The tool hummed to life. Bright blue plasma arced between the cutting edges, not designed as a weapon, but it would do damage if needed. She also grabbed 2 chemical flares. Fire and noise, her best tools for deterrence, Hana, Kyungmin said quietly. "There are too many, even for a human." "Then I make them think there are more of us," Hana said. She activated her suit's external speakers and played recorded sounds. Human voices shouting, multiple voices, loud and aggressive. The sounds echoed through the jungle. The creatures hesitated. Their simple minds processed the new information. Many humans meant danger, but they were hungry. They had injured prey right in front of them. Hunger versus caution, instinct versus survival. The lead creature made a decision. It charged. The others followed immediately. 6 predators rushing forward in coordinated attack, fast and deadly. Hana threw 1 flare to her left. It exploded in red fire and smoke. She threw the second to her right. More fire, more smoke. She created a wall of flame between her and the attackers. The creatures skidded to a stop. Fire was danger. Fire meant pain, but pack hunters were persistent. They began to circle, looking for a way around the flames. Hana kept the plasma cutter ready. If they came through, she would have to fight. 1 human against 6 alien predators in double gravity while protecting 5 injured beings. Not good odds. Then the sky opened up. Rain fell in sheets. Not gentle rain. Violent, acidic rain that hissed when it hit surfaces. The fire from the flares died immediately. The smoke vanished. The wall of protection was gone. The creatures charged again. Hana moved to meet them. She could not let them reach the injured passengers. She swung the plasma cutter in an arc. The lead creature dodged, but not fast enough. The plasma grazed its shoulder. It screamed and fell back. The smell of burned flesh filled the air. 2 more creatures attacked from different angles. Classic pack tactic, split the prey's attention. Hana kicked one with her heavy boot. The gravity made the kick devastating. The creature flew backward and did not get up. She turned and used the plasma cutter on the second. It retreated quickly, 3 down, 3 still hunting. But now they were cautious. Their simple pack intelligence recognized that this prey was dangerous. Injured prey should be easy. This prey fought back hard. The rain intensified. Water ran down Hana's visor. Her vision blurred. She blinked rapidly to clear it. The creatures used the moment to attack again. They came from 3 directions simultaneously. Perfect coordination. Hana grabbed a piece of debris from the ground. A broken support strut from the crashed shuttle. Metal, heavy. She swung it like a bat. Caught 1 creature across the face. Bone crunched. The creature went down. She spun and thrust the plasma cutter at another. It backed off. The last healthy creature looked at its wounded pack members. It made a sound. Not attack, retreat. The pack had failed. The prey was too dangerous. Better to find easier food. The creatures withdrew into the jungle. The wounded ones limped away. The dead ones remained where they fell. The rain washed away the blood quickly. Hana stood breathing hard. Her heart pounded. Adrenaline made her hands shake. But she was alive. Everyone was alive. She deactivated the plasma cutter and secured it to her belt. No time to rest. The storm was getting worse. "Is everyone okay?" she called out. "We are alive because of you," one of the luminary delegates said weakly. "I have never seen anyone fight like that." "Earth teaches us to fight when necessary," Hana said. She grabbed the stretcher harness again. "But we need to keep moving. This rain is acidic. My suit can handle it, but you cannot be exposed for long." She pulled harder now. The rain made everything slippery. The ground turned to mud. The stretcher wanted to slide sideways. Hana had to use all her strength to keep it moving forward. Her muscles were past the point of fatigue. They operated on pure will now. Kyungmin watched her struggle. How much further? He asked. Hana checked her display. 1.8 kilometers. Maybe 40 minutes if I can maintain this pace. You cannot maintain this pace, Kyungmin said gently. You are human, yes. But even humans have limits. Then I reach my limit after we reach the shuttle, Hana said. She kept pulling. One step, another step. Endless steps. The storm raged around them. Thunder crashed overhead. Lightning turned the jungle white for brief moments. Her comm crackled. Taejin's voice was broken by interference. Hana, storm is directly. You need, say again? Hana called out. Shuttle can't stay much longer. Fuel reserves, critical. The transmission died. Hana understood enough. The shuttle was in danger. They might have to leave without her. She could not let that happen. 5 lives depended on her getting them to that shuttle. She increased her pace. Pain shot through her legs. Her back felt like it was on fire. Breathing became difficult. The thick atmosphere combined with exertion was overwhelming her oxygen supply. Warning lights flashed on her visor display. Oxygen at 60%, then 50%. Hana, your suit is failing, Kyungmin said. He could see the warning lights reflected on her visor. You need to stop and fix it. No time, Hana gasped. We stop, we die. Keep moving, we might live. Simple choice. She thought about instructor Minho. She remembered his words during that winter mountain climb. Your body wants to stop. Your mind wants to quit, but you keep moving. She kept moving. One step, another step. The jungle was endless. The rain was endless. The pain was endless. But she kept moving. The trees began to thin. The clearing was ahead. Through the rain, she could see lights. The shuttle was still there. Taejin had not left them. Relief gave her a burst of energy. She pulled faster. The mud sucked at her boots, but she pushed through. They broke through the jungle edge into the clearing. The shuttle's engines were already warming up. Exhaust mixed with rain created thick fog. Taejin saw them and activated the loading ramp. It extended down toward them. Move, move, move. Taejin's voice came clear through the comm now. The storm is directly overhead. We have maybe 2 minutes before it gets worse. Hana pulled the stretcher up the ramp. Her legs almost gave out. She stumbled but caught herself. Inside the shuttle, Breen and Krell rushed to help. They grabbed the stretcher and secured it to the deck. Than immediately began examining the injured passengers with his telepathic senses. Everyone is aboard, Breen called out. Get us out of here. Hana collapsed against the bulkhead. Her oxygen was at 30%. Critical level. She fumbled with her helmet seal. The shuttle lifted off. The medical bay was quiet. Hana sat on an exam table while a doctor checked her vital signs. 3 days had passed since the rescue mission. Her body was recovering, but the exhaustion went deep. Muscles she did not know she had were sore. But she was alive. Everyone was alive. That was what mattered. Your recovery is remarkable, the doctor said. He was luminary, glowing soft yellow in the dim room. Most beings would need weeks to recover from what you experienced. You will be released tomorrow. Thank you, doctor. Hana flexed her hands. They still trembled slightly. Muscle fatigue. It would pass. The door opened. Instructor Velthar entered. His 4 eyes studied her carefully. Cadet Kim, how do you feel? Tired, instructor. But functional. Good. Because the entire academy wants to hear about your mission. Velthar's scaled face was hard to read, but Hana detected something like respect in his voice. Your debrief has become required viewing for all combat students. What you accomplished should have been impossible. It was just training, instructor. I did what Earth prepared me to do. That is exactly why we need to talk. Velthar sat down on a chair designed for his large frame. I have been teaching at this academy for 30 years. I have trained thousands of students from hundreds of worlds, but I never truly understood humans until I watched your mission recordings. Hana waited. She knew he had more to say. Every species in the galaxy evolved to fit their environment. Velthar continued. The Luminari evolved on garden worlds. Beautiful places with gentle weather and abundant resources. They never needed physical strength because their planets never challenged them physically. They became brilliant engineers and artists instead. He gestured toward the window. Outside the Academy station orbited a peaceful blue star. The Draknir evolved underground. Their home planet's surface was deadly with storms and radiation, so they went below. They built entire civilizations in caves and tunnels. They became masters of construction and defense, but they never learned to adapt to surface conditions. And the Mindari? Anna asked. The Mindari transcended physical challenges entirely. Their homeworld was harsh, but instead of building stronger bodies, they developed powerful minds, telepathy, telekinesis, mental powers that let them reshape their environment without touching it. Velthar's four eyes focused intently on Hana. Every species found their solution to survival. They specialized. They optimized for their specific environment. But humans did not specialize, Hana said slowly. Understanding was forming. Exactly. Earth gave you no choice. Your planet has every type of environment. Frozen poles, burning deserts, dense jungles, high mountains, deep oceans, and none of these environments stay stable. Earth throws hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, droughts, ice ages, and heat waves at you. Constantly, randomly, without mercy. Velthar stood and walked to the window. So humans could not specialize. You had to become generalists. You had to develop bodies that could handle heat and cold. You had to develop minds that could solve any problem. You had to learn to eat almost anything, live almost anywhere, and survive almost any disaster. We adapt, Hana said simply. You do more than adapt. You seek out challenges deliberately. That is what I did not understand until now. Velthar turned back to face her. When I announced the Carthex 9 mission, every alien student calculated the risk and refused. Logical decision. Safe decision. But you volunteered immediately. Why? Hana thought about her answer. Because on Earth we do not wait for disasters to come to us. We train for them. We deliberately go to dangerous places during training, so that when real danger comes we are ready. My instructor Minho used to say that comfort is the enemy of capability. Comfort is the enemy of capability. Velthar repeated slowly. That is a very human philosophy. Most species seek comfort. They build their entire civilizations around increasing comfort and safety, but humans voluntarily give up comfort to build capability. It is not that we do not value comfort, Hana said. We just value survival more. And survival requires capability. The door opened again. This time Ambassador Kyungmin Lee entered. He walked with a cane. His leg was healing but still needed support. Behind him came the three alien delegates Hana had rescued. Cadet Kim, Kyungmin said warmly. We came to thank you properly. The Luminari delegate stepped forward. Her crystalline body was stable now, glowing healthy blue. I am Delegate Shira. When you pulled us through that jungle, I thought we would all die. But you never stopped. You fought predators. You endured the storm. You refused to give up. She bowed deeply. You have my eternal gratitude. The Draknir delegate spoke next. His purple scales had regained their luster. I am Delegate Morath. My people are warriors. We pride ourselves on strength and courage. But what you did surpassed any warrior feat I have witnessed. You fought with intelligence and determination. You are a credit to your species. The third delegate, Amindari, floated forward. His mental voice was gentle in everyone's minds. I am Delegate Penshur. My daughter is the young one you rescued. She speaks of you constantly. She says you carried her when she could not float. She says you sang to her to keep her calm. You not only saved our bodies, you protected our spirits. Hana felt her face warm. She was not comfortable with praise. I was just doing my duty. Anyone would have done the same. No, Kyungmin said firmly. No one else volunteered. You were the only one who raised your hand. That makes all the difference, Lanny smiled. And because of that, we have a proposal. Kyungmin activated a holographic display. It showed plans for a new training facility. The Galactic Council has approved the creation of elite rescue teams. Teams that can operate on death worlds and in extreme conditions. We want humans to lead the training program. Why humans specifically? Hana asked. Because every other species needs to learn what humans already know, Penshar's mental voice explained. We need to learn to face challenges instead of avoiding them. We need to learn to volunteer for difficult tasks. We need to learn that capability comes from training and discomfort. Shira added, the facility will be built on Earth. Students from across the galaxy will come to train in your planet's various extreme environments. They will learn human survival techniques, not to replace their own species' strengths, but to add human adaptability to their existing skills. Earth will become the galaxy's premier training ground for emergency response, Kyungmin said. And you, Cadet Kim, are invited to be one of the instructors. Hana was speechless. She looked at Velthar. The instructor nodded. You have proven yourself, cadet. This is a great honor. And more importantly, the galaxy needs this. Our civilizations have become too comfortable. We have forgotten that the universe is fundamentally hostile. We need humans to remind us, to teach us. Before Hana could respond, another voice came from the doorway. She will need to finish her education first. Everyone turned. A man stood in the entrance, 60s, gray hair, weathered face. Minho Choi. Hana's instructor from Earth, Instructor Minho. Hana jumped off the exam table. What are you doing here? I came to see if my student remembered her training, Minho said with a slight smile. I watched your mission recording. You did well. A few mistakes, but overall acceptable performance. Coming from Minho, acceptable was high praise. Hana bowed respectfully. Thank you, instructor. I tried to apply everything you taught me. Minho walked into the room. He looked at the assembled delegates and academy staff. You want to build a training facility on Earth. You want humans to teach aliens how to survive. This is good, but you need to understand what you are asking. Please explain, Kyungmin said. Earth training is not gentle, Minho said bluntly. We do not simulate danger. We use real danger. Students will be cold. They will be hot. They will be hungry. They will be scared. They will want to quit. Some will quit. That is acceptable. But those who complete the training will be changed forever. That is exactly what we need, Morath said. Our species have become weak. We rely too much on technology and safety systems. We need to remember our primal strength. Then I will help design the program, Minho said. He looked at Hana. And yes, you can be an instructor after you graduate. But first you finish your academy training. No shortcuts. You volunteered for the academy. You complete the academy. Yes, instructor, Hana said. She knew better than to argue with Minho. The next day, Hana was released from medical. She returned to her classes. But everything had changed. Other students looked at her differently now. With respect. With curiosity. Some with fear. A week later, Velthar called a special assembly. All combat training students gathered in the main auditorium. Hana sat with Doyen and the other human students. There were only 5 humans total in the academy. They stood out in a sea of hundreds of aliens. Velthar took the stage. Beside him, Hana's mission recording played on a large display. Students watched in silence as Hana pulled the stretcher through the jungle. They watched her fight the pack of predators. They watched her struggle through the storm. The recording ended with the shuttle escaping into space. This is what I wanted you to see, Velthar said to the assembled students. Cadet Kim accomplished this mission alone. She did not have a team. She did not have backup. She had only her training and her determination. And that was enough.